Hello, welcome to the next episode of Bostrom's b.cast, our podcast about the wacky world of association management and everything that goes along with that. So I'm very, very excited, first of all, that it is our 10th episode of b.cast, which is amazing. Very happy. And I've been really looking forward to this episode because we have today our wonderful, incredible design team, Michael Baccelli and Josh Dobbs, who you cannot believe the amount of work that these two crank out. Everything from redesigning a brand and a whole brand system to every single bit of material and imagery and digital imagery needed for meetings and events and conferences. So it's just a crazy world, but I am so very excited to welcome both Michael and Josh to today's episode.
Glad to be here. I don't like speaking a lot, but I'm glad to talk about design. I'm always willing to.
Glad to be back.
Yeah, I know. Everyone should know that I did have to drag them kicking and screaming to do this episode, but here we go. I'm going to jump in. We have a lot of questions today because there's so much going on in the world of design and AI's influence, and so we're going to just jump right in here. So I always like to start these episodes with what led you to design in the first place? Like what led you to doing what you're doing, not only in design, but in association management and getting here at Bostrom. So Michael, do you want to take that one first?
Yeah, I'll take that one. It's a long story. I will try to sum it up pretty quick. I think I've always loved art growing up as a kid. Loved art in school, was always in art classes, taking different art classes all through school. And I remember in high school, one of my classes was a graphic design class that they offered, and I just fell in love with it. I liked everything about it. I loved studying the history of it, where it all started, and really just the whole basis of graphic design. So I fell in love with it, decided that's what I wanted to do. I went to school for it up in Milwaukee, went to Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design. Loved that. When I started working in Chicago, I worked for small creative firms for a long time. Those are both my work. We did a lot of business to business, a lot of associations. That's when I kind of got introduced to them. I actually got introduced to Bostrom. We did a lot of work for Bostrom when I was at McKnight, Curl and Baccelli. And then from there, I kind of went out on my own. And I know I still work a lot for Bostrom as one of my clients. And, everything kind of matched. At one point, I was looking for something new. Bostrom was looking to expand. I came on board, and I guess the rest is history. It's almost 10 years later. Been here at Bostrom for a while now, and no looking back. It's great.
Yes, I've been working with Michael for a very, very long time, and I still pronounce his name Baccelli instead of Baccelli, which is
don't say Baccelli.
I always say Baccelli, and I don't know why. It's Baccelli, everybody. So yes. Okay, Josh, what about your path?
Somewhat similar in that I've always had an affinity for art, particularly illustration. I grew up drawing comic books. I would make my own comic books as a kid, filling entire notebooks with made-up characters. And this goes back to as early as I can remember, to the first grade even. And then as I got out of the Army, I needed to find a civilian job. And I am kind of a neo-Luddite and was not very interested in the idea of being a graphic designer because it uses computers. And initially went and studied music first, but then I decided to take a intro to graphic design class on a whim, and I ended up enjoying it. It was a lot more on the artistic side than I had originally thought. And so from there, I left the community college I was going to and went to the Art Institute and got a bachelor's in fine arts and ended up working for my first association, the Leche League International. When I got out of college, I knew right away I wasn't always interested in what might be considered the big jobs with the big Fortune 500 company type thing. I wanted to try to do something that I felt was meaningful to me. And so that's what eventually led me to associations. And Bostrom, Jeanne, found me in sort of a basement office of the Leche League International when they became a client of Bostrom's. And so, I've been here almost 11 years now.
Oh, yeah, that's incredible. Very interesting, the paths that people have to get here. Okay, when you think about designing for associations, what stands out as different compared to working with a corporate a corporation or a consumer brand?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like the whole first part of my career was working for, business to business corporations,
Yeah.
some associations, but most of it was, for-profit businesses. And there's a lot of things that are different that I found the past 10 years, but there's a lot of things that are still the same. I guess the process and stuff like that that designers go through. But I think there's a couple big areas that are, very different. And one to start off is budget, right? Budget
Yeah.
and resources. That's like a big area, right? And I find it challenging and really fun to do when you work with associations because you have a smaller budget a lot of the times. So to me, you have to be a lot more flexible. You have to make all your assets and everything you're creating, a little bit more efficient. They have to have longer shelf lives. They have to be repurposed. The more you can get out of a project, the better it is for the association because it goes farther with money and budget, right? So that's a big thing. I think probably the biggest difference is that associations are mission driven, right? A lot of times consumers or businesses are focused on sales, profits, stuff like that, where associations are all about advancing the mission and what it really means. And don't get me wrong, you still try to sell things, right? You're going to conferences, you get you get membership, stuff like that, but it's very different. And then I think probably one of the other big areas is it's about a community, right, and belonging. So really emphasizing that with all the design and marketing that we do is really key into pretty much every project. It's all about belonging to this community, about people connecting. I think those three areas are really important when you're designing for associations.
Makes sense. Josh, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I think just a little side note. One of the things I noticed almost immediately with every association, they almost have their own nuanced culture. And not in the top-down corporate culture kind of way, but in an organic, grassroots kind of way. And you really have to get to know the client on that level because they are so nuanced in the words they use, even down to images. I'll be sourcing images for a project and they'll be like, oh, that's the wrong kind of concrete. It's something no one would really know what they do. And this, so it's really interesting to see. It's like this micro culture within an association. It's incredibly important to learn those things about them.
Yeah, that's a great point. So you both have done a lot of work building brand systems, and I kind of alluded to this before, not just a brand, but a brand system. Can you walk us through how you approach that, making sure an association's identity is both unique and consistent in everything we do? Because there's a lot of people that touch that brand, not just staff, not just marketing, but volunteers, leaders across the board.
You could take that one, Josh, if you want.
Sure, I got a lot to say on this. So this will take the whole episode. Well, I mean, a brand, especially nowadays, is more than just a logo. It's an entire ecosystem, and as you said, Jeannie, with multiple touch points beyond just the staff and the marketing team, but also with the membership as well, and sometimes even beyond that. And I think it almost inappropriately, a logo gets so much weight put on it to carry an entire brand. That poor little logo trying to carry the messaging for this entire association, but really it comes down to this entire ecosystem. And so what we do is we start from assessing their marketing strategy and their needs. We evaluate their events, their website, the purpose of their website, because they can be a little different depending on the association. The goals can be different. The social media usage, any ongoing campaigns, content, and tonality of that content. And figuring out the goals of that strategy, that over what they're trying to get out of all these avenues that they're reaching their memberships from, helps us then shape the assets that we develop. We develop these components that can range beyond colors, fonts, and a logo mark into templates for various types of social media platforms, templates for even swim lanes on a website, or simple layouts, even down to little code snippets, or a trained chat GPT persona who understands the voicing of that client. These all go into a brand system. So it's well beyond just a logo at this point. In order to do that, we really try to match up with that strategy and goal that that client is really looking for. And then we provide those components to staff and
Yeah.
educate them on how this is being used. And we typically use tools like Canva. It's an easily accessible tool for people who are not designers to use.
Mm-hmm.
And the goal for us at that point is to provide everyone with all these assets that take sort of the guesswork out of design for non-designers. And that's pretty much our approach for that. And it can vary depending on clients because each client is different, but you really have to be an active listener and work towards what goal they're telling you they want to reach.
Yeah, I love that it's more than just a logo. That there's accent colors and a palette and things that you can put in a Canva brand kit for others to use, whether someone's promoting a webinar, an education session, anything like that. But it is much more than a logo. It's like, give them the tools that are going to create that, that consistency and that feel. But it's also that tone, the tone of voice, how we talk and all of those things. And I love the idea of training a chat GPT instance too, because all of that will help.
Yeah, one other thing we try to bring with us when we create brands and systems that Josh was talking about is we try to educate them, right, and how to use it, what to do with it, so it stays consistent. But we always want to remind them that a new brand or an updated brand or whatever project it is, it's never just one and done. It's not like, here you go and walk away, right? Brands evolve over time, right? Things change in their universe and other universes and universes of their members, whatever it is, it changes. The voice, the tones, whatever it might be, the imagery. So as the association grows and the member needs grow as well, the brand should grow with it. And you try to be flexible these days to have that flexibility. It's not like you create a logo and that's a logo for 20 years. It's very different these days, right? We try to be flexible.
Yeah. Okay, here's a tough one. Do you have an example where getting the brand right really made the difference for an association? Maybe in member engagement, reputation, or growth?
I would say one of our more recent clients, CSA, um, they have an awards show called Artios, and they had a rebrand that they did. And for that, we rebranded and created an entire brand system for them. And with this new system, we had other stakeholders with CSA take hold of these components that we developed and really run with it. But they were so well versed in what we presented them because we educated them on how to wield this new brand. They had all the components they need, textures, images. They had pre-made templates that they could adjust slightly based on their needs. And they took it and ran with it. And if they had any questions about something, they knew to just come to us, and we could help guide them if they had any snags. And by the end, I had seen pieces that I didn't even know were created, and it fell right within the brand. The event looked great, and not only did it look great and feel cohesive, and we had a happy client in that regard, but they're set up now for the oncoming years to save money because we have this entire system in place that now everyone's educated on, everyone's trained on how to use. So this year, when we're putting things together, it's just minor updates. And so that little bit of upfront work really is saving money on the back end long term.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great example. I mean, and it just shows you how brand systems are really important, right? Because everyone could work on them if they're set up right. They can continue on, and like Josh just said, in the long run, it saves money. There's a little more work up front, but it's well worth it in the long run if you look 2 to 3 years ahead. Now every year, it's about looking what's going to be produced, what's needed, what do we have templates for, is there anything we need to do it differently or add to it, and now we're building on that instead of recreating every year, which is really nice.
Yeah. And then that ties right back in, as Michael said before, about a brand being adaptive and more organic. Once you have a really good foundation, you can really build off that moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And starting to understand the tools that other people in marketing, that people in education departments, that the volunteer leaders and their partners and vendors understanding what platforms they're using as well. So you can build kits for Canva, you can build a kit for ChatGPT, and and really still keep hold of the brand, but let them own it and run with it as well. In the
Yeah, it took a little while for us to do that, to let the
Yeah,
brand go a little bit, right? It took a couple of
it's
years
hard.
of fine tuning. As designers, we, kind of keep things close,
Yeah,
right? But we're really happy and excited about this new way and this new process that
yeah.
we're developing, right? It's working out really well. We don't have to have control over every little thing. I'm going to try and say that again. We don't have to have control, but it's really working out well, and we're
Well,
happy with
that is
it.
a perfect segue to AI. Losing control is really what AI is all about, right? So let's talk about that. It feels like everyone is experimenting with design tools right now. Sora, video, how do you see AI changing the way you approach your work as designers?
That's a great one. That's a good one, Josh. How do we approach it?
With fear and trepidation. No,
Are
I'm
you
kidding.
Yes.
using the tools? Do you use Sora or do you?
No, well, yes and no. I'm picky about the tools I use because there's some things that AI is great for and some things not so
Mhm.
much. And this is where the lines get blurred on where are humans really going to need to really have oversight on what
Yeah.
it's doing versus other things that can really shine in. And so for me, the areas that's really helped me out is for helping to curate data points and validate some design decisions so I can run an analysis, say, look at this website and find, what would be any claims that they're making about their membership, their product, or testimonials, and where is there evidence to back that up, right? So that's one way you're having it analyze the website and come back and say, yeah, you're saying that this website says you're doing great, but you're not backing it up with evidence on this page here or that page there or that page there. It's one method. The other thing is simple persona generation. You can say, analyze this website, pretend you remember, what sort of things would you be looking for? And again, it's not always accurate, right? Again, you have to have oversight and
Yeah.
you have to know the client and know the intricacies and personalities and culture of that client and continue to cultivate that persona a little bit. But it can really give you an idea, help push you into the mind of a member in that way. One of the biggest things is brainstorming, just getting the juices flowing. If I'm stuck on something, I could say, hey, this is a primary color. Give me hex values for these like tertiary and secondary colors. And most of the time, I take it over and go, okay, I want to tweak that,
Yeah,
tweak that. But the point is, it got me
right.
thinking, right? I'm not starting from 100% scratch. And then finally, another way is helping to expose any sort of blind spots in a content marketing strategy, and then also boilerplates for HTML or JavaScript or CSS. If I need to build a menu really quick for some of these uh, association management systems we use, we have to custom build navigation, and that can take a lot of time building it from the ground up.
Yeah.
So I can have it build me a boilerplate based on the client's website as a jump
Oh,
off point.
wow.
Save a few
I didn't
extra
even
hours
think
there.
about that because you do a lot of our digital work. Like, sometimes you're creating a WordPress site quickly. Sometimes you're working in tools like Cvent and member clicks and things like that, where you have to understand, the structure of that site, but you have to build something quick and it's got to be branded, effectively.
And function,
Right, and work. Yeah.
which on multiple devices.
Yes. On all devices.
I think that's where AI helps tremendously, right? Is on that coding part of it too. Like
Yeah.
all the different systems we're using, like you said, right, with WordPress and Higher Logic and all these different things, there's little nuances with
Yeah.
everyone, right? And for us to use AI to help us with that rather than researching and going to, help centers and talking to people, it saves a tremendous
Yeah.
amount of time for stuff like that. I think that's a great area. I think for on the creative side, on branding and stuff like
Mhm.
that, like Josh said, it's not like ChatGPT is really good for content or ideas or brainstorming or research. We use that all the time for that way. But I think on the creative side, a lot of the AI programs we see out there aren't really to our standards yet. There's little
Yeah.
nuances that really we won't use it for creative.
Yeah.
Right? We just haven't found anything that's great out there. And if somebody knows it, let us know. But we've been looking and trying them all, and not really happy with it. But I think where it differs is we use AI as as a support system for us, whether it's content marketing side, the creative side, right? Like Josh said, research, generating ideas, just getting a brainstorming going or juices flowing. I think it's really well. Get ideas for content. But I think the creative direction, the strategy, realizing the human connection and all that, and what it really means we talked about for branding is really what the human part does for us. Like we still value that part.
Yeah.
In creative. Yeah.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about this when we were talking about brand systems and everything, but some of our client teams are using a lot of AI, whether it's not just the content marketer, but some of the program managers or account executives, the executive directors are using AI to design things. And, they're not formally trained. So how do we make sure that those teams can still keep that brand strong and consistent? And maybe it's the brand system, but, how do you kind of keep that front of mind with that team to make sure they're doing it right?
I think you answered it. I think we kind of answered that,
the brand
right?
System, right?
Yeah. The brand systems, right? And some, don't get me wrong, not every client could do a full blown out brand system, right? A lot do, and the ones who do it more thoroughly, like the sample of CSA that Josh gave, works out perfectly, right? We could expand on it; it can grow with them. Some clients, don't have the budget this year, or we're still trying to go through the process of talking about it, education, seeing what can be done. So I think it's twofold. One, they have a system. Two, we can help them with it and just oversee stuff as they need it. We have a process where we'll do the first couple of iterations. Maybe we'll put them in Canva then and do a piece by piece, which can help as well, right?
One thing that you guys did that I loved was, and this was for the content marketing managers. So what they do here is a ton of email, but they're putting content on web pages. They're doing a lot of e-marketing. They're doing social posts, and we have a retreat every year, but you two devised a design contest and walked through the basics of graphic design. What are the elements and the tricks of the trade, maybe a little bit of, what do you really need to think about when you're designing something? And we all got in and jumped in and designed something and had a contest. But it was a great way to learn just the basics of understanding of graphic design when you're doing things without a designer. And that could be fun to do for client teams too, not just the marketing.
Yeah. I think that would be a great thing, right, Josh? I mean, I think everybody in the creative field, in the content development field, whatever area you're in marketing, a lot of it it's not thrown at different people. A lot of times you have to do things yourself. You have to lay out an email. You're going to have to you have to know a little bit about design. You kind of have a lot of stuff to do. And maybe you were trained in writing, you're a writer, and you don't know that well. So I think a lot of people have that similar, right, experience. So I think training people in the basics of design is really key and helpful. Now, I didn't think that would be that helpful for the team, and they loved it. So I thought it was a great project, right? We talk about balance, we talk about white space, right? You talk about the rhythm of an email or an ad or whatever it is, right? There's a lot of things I never thought about, but at the end, it really helps everybody, and they enjoy it too, right? They enjoy learning those things, which I think is great.
Yeah, I think it. Going back to the idea of a brand system, I think it helps when you have a session like that for the rest of the staff about design. It helps them understand the methodology behind what you're doing. However, it's still, as a designer, upon us to provide them with the tools and essentially the Lego kit to take the guesswork out of creating an email for them.
Yeah.
but they also still have enough knowledge to know, hey, I know I shouldn't be doing this thing because that's just going to look bad. So again, it comes down to that it's a synergistic relationship. I think you have to have. You can't operate in a silo. We're the design team and your staff, and it's like we're together and we each have different roles, and they flow together, and we have to have an open dialogue with each other about that. And that's where that first sort of touch point with a team member on educating them on how to use the brand is so important, because you're also setting the stage for them to feel comfortable coming to you with questions. And that helps when you get to things like, okay, you're using AI to create an image, they can reach out and say, hey, does this fit? Or they just already know because we've been back and forth with their conversation enough that they're well versed to know that, well, I shouldn't be using this type of, going back to the brick, for example, this type of brick for this client, right?
Piece of a wall,
yeah, I think that kind of goes. I was going to say that kind of goes back to that one of the first questions we discussed, where budget and resources are key to working for associations. This is what we're talking about, right? If you work for an agency and a client comes and they want something done, you do it for them, right? And you charge them for it. But with associations, what you want to do is you want to find ways to have that process cut down, right? So everyone could do a little bit of something, their costs go down, they do stuff themselves, which saves money. And it's all about that idea of budget and resources, right? You got to make things last and have everyone have access to it and be universal, so they can all use it and understand it and not spend exorbitant amount of money doing certain things. So I think that's really key.
Yeah, I love it that they feel comfortable enough to know when, okay, I need a designer on this. Like because sometimes I see the projects that get handed your way, and it just needed a little bit more. It was too important, and I think those brand systems help that too, help you identify when you're going to need some professional design work on something and when you can just go. Yeah. So I think, you two come at it from a little different ways, but when thinking about upskilling, right, we are thrown new technology all the time. Now, we've gravitated to some good tools that we like, but in terms of upskilling, I think I'd like to know more about, like, Josh, in the digital and development world, like, how are you learning these new tools and technologies for whether it's building website or, building personas, things like that. And then Michael, on the content, you lead, a group of content marketing managers and e-marketing and those kind of things. How are you upskilling that team for these AI tools in social media management and in e-marketing and personalization and things like that? So Josh, do you want to take it first from the kind of that digital development side?
Yeah, sure. So for me, I'm really personally interested in the psychology of design. So I'm a member of the Interaction Design Foundation, which is a UX focused member association. And I take classes through their certifications and all sorts of things through there. And that is not only applicable to websites, but in all areas of design, because you're getting into the psychology and learning to empathize as to why people respond to things the way they do, even if they don't realize it themselves. And so I'm able to apply that to so many things. And I think especially a brand, because brands nowadays themselves are more than just that logo, but you're also, through that brand, especially as an association, you need to create an experience for that member.
Right.
And you need to be able to understand how what you're doing is going to affect people on the receiving end of that, or at least have enough tools to start guiding it that direction. But honestly, beyond that, I just follow my curiosity.
Yeah.
I think that there is so much out there. You never know what you're going to find and bring back just by following your curiosity. WordPress, I never thought I'd actually be a web developer in any sense of the word. I didn't go to school for it. I went for graphic design. I learned to do logos and pamphlets, and back when we did print, more print. Yeah, exactly. But I got interested in WordPress, and then that was my segue into all sorts of different areas of web development. Now with AI, I'm learning about AI agents and creating apps through AI. Like, how can you leverage that? Because it's a different type of coding, right?
Yeah.
But then that carries over into prompt engineering and developing better prompts. Who knows if one day Bostrom will say, hey, we need an AI agent for something. I don't
Yeah.
know, right? So it's just
We
kind
do.
of following your curiosity, and I follow my curiosity and let that kind of lead me where it will. And it usually works out.
I love that. That's definitely that's going to be the theme of this podcast, of this
Yes.
episode. Follow your curiosity.
Yeah.
I
I think we're the
totally will.
same. I think Josh and I are the same a lot, right? We both, I mean, him and I work hand in hand
Yeah.
day after day, right? And we talk, all the time, hours a week about education and what's coming next and what do we want to learn more about. We follow our instincts a lot when
Yeah.
it comes to design side and stuff like that, right? And it's overwhelming. I mean, everyone's probably overwhelmed, especially now with all the AI out
Yep.
there. Like when new technologies come on board when it comes to marketing and design, they're it takes a little time to catch on. It evolves and you learn it. But AI it's just taken every industry by the storm, especially marketing. Right? It's
Mm-hmm.
really prevalent in ours. So I try not to get too stuck in it. Like it could be overwhelming. Just I'm sure, like for everybody, it is. I try to stay focused on just steady growth and where I think will really help me or the company I'm working for or doing work for. I think I try to follow that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
But again, yeah, I try to stay on top of things, just like all the content marketers and designers on staff here. You know, we try to stay up on certifications like Digital Marketing Institute, Content Marketing Institute. We stay up to date with them. We try to get our certifications. We all do that yearly. And I think just in general, I think the best way to learn, especially when it comes to AI, is just to get out there and do it.
Yeah.
Right? You hear from people in the industry, people in this, in the workplace, and just follow your gut. If things sound good, get out there and try it and do it.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way to learn. That's the one thing I could say is that I do all the time.
Yeah.
Just play with it and learn.
Yeah. That's true.
And if you don't know where to start, because it's just a blank screen with a form field waiting for a prompt, just ask it what it can do, and it will tell you.
Here you
Yes.
go.
It'll give you
That's a good
ideas.
way to start. What should I use this for? Yeah. That's great. Um, so looking ahead, how do you see the role of branding changing for associations over the next 5 or 10 years?
I think I touched on that a little bit. I think it's going to be creating an experience
Mm-hmm.
for
Yeah.
members. I think people, especially nowadays, are looking for connection more than ever.
Yep.
When they interact with the brand, they're interacting with that brand's personality and values. They want to feel that connection with them. So I think that brands are going to be expected to facilitate this visceral and reflective part of a customer or member experience. They want to feel, I guess, a part of that,
Yeah.
a part of that association. They want to feel that that association is a reflection of
Yeah.
them, and I think you do that through branding. I think that's where it's going to go. It's really going to be on a member experience
Yeah.
side of things
I
moving
love
forward,
that.
I
And I
think.
think it connects really well with the brand system, right? Because it's not just a logo. When you're talking about that connection, it's a multitude of things inside that brand system that allows somebody to have that feeling of connection and the experience you want to have.
I think that's the biggest area. And part of that is, and we're already doing it, and a lot of people are doing it now, is personalization, right?
Yeah.
And that's what's different than a lot of other organizations too, is that, it's not just one message for everyone, right? It's about meeting people where they are
Mm-hmm.
and talking to them for that space. And that's a really big part of associations, I think. We're doing it now, but I think it's just going to become more and more the key part of association marketing and branding.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the random thoughts I had a few days ago was the idea of using AI for adaptive branding. It's actually kind of a scary thought, but the idea that the branding can adjust its tone, adjust its colors, like the brand is the
Based
brand,
on you?
but it can adjust its colors, its tone based on the person receiving that email. Maybe Maybe the
Wow.
colors adjust hue slightly or brighten slightly, or the wording adjusts slightly if depending on the way that person speaks. So it's just a
Wow. Oh
thought.
my,
I don't know how it'd be pulled off, but anything's possible in it.
I don't know. I mean, I don't like real colors. I like more muted colors and stuff. But if it knew that about me based on my behavior, or something, I don't know how, but yeah, it could.
I got a great idea. Let's have another podcast in 5 years with
Yeah,
us and revamp or go over these same questions and
I
then
love
see
it.
where we're at and see how scary it is.
I love it. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, I've got one more question. Um, if an associate, you guys are behind the scenes a lot, you're not at the board table. And I think if you were, you would be asked this question by an association leader. How do they keep their brand strong and future ready? If that's what they wanted to do, they wanted to hold tight to that experience. What's the one piece of advice you would give them?
Um, well, I think that we have entered an era of context and nuance. I think it's almost impossible for one person or even a small group of people to do it all. So I think that it's important that you try to surround yourself with the right group of trusted marketers and designers and get them to work with you so that they can hold that expertise for you so that you can focus on the mission of that association.
Yeah, I love
I
that.
can't I can't even add to that. That was perfect.
That was perfect. Yeah.
Perfect, Josh.
All right. Well, thank you both. We now get to the rapid fire Q&A portion of our podcast. And normally I'm doing this with one person, but I've got you both here. So I've got 5 rapid fire questions. I'm going to ask the question and I want you both to answer at the same time. And you got to be fast. You got to be really, really fast.
If I answer fast, can we edit this out? If I'm
It's up to Josh. He's our editor.
right, right.
We'll see. We'll see. All right. Are you ready? Deep breath. Clear the mind. All right. What is your current state of mind?
Balanced.
Sorry, I couldn't answer it at the same time. It's my nature to be deeply introspective, so I guess
Deeply
I'll say
introspective.
introspective now. No, I'll say introspective.
Introspective. Okay.
You put me in that state.
All right. What talent would you most like to have?
To be comfortable being myself around others.
Oh,
That's a good
that
one.
is a good one.
There's some people you just meet and they just seem so authentically them and unashamed by it, and I wish I could be that way.
It's so deep. I was just going to say I'd like to know how to cook better.
I know, right? I want to be a lounge singer, but yeah. No.
Yes.
All right. Which word or phrase do you most overuse? Michael, are you
Wow.
thinking of
I'm
that?
just like, wow. Wow. I think, wow. I say it a lot.
Wow.
I just answered my own question. Your
You
own
did.
question.
Josh?
I've been trying to get rid of it, which is why there's a lot more pauses in my way of speaking. But the words are and like. However, removing those makes me pause a lot. So sometimes I don't get to finish what I'm saying.
All right. What is your favorite time of day?
Early morning. Easy. Early morning.
You do.
I'm a morning person. Josh is introspective. Look at him.
Like,
Yeah, I would have to say probably evening when the sun is setting, especially in the fall when the shadows grow real long and there's that amber sunset. And then having moved to Texas, I call them cotton candy skies.
Oh,
The
yeah.
skies turn pink, like this bright pink and blue. And so I think the colors for that I like to sit out on the deck and watch the sunset.
love that.
Sounds nice.
All right, last question. Other than what you do today at Bostrom, what profession would you pick to be in?
Ooh, there's a lot.
I think for me, reflecting on my life, I think I would have stayed in the Army full through, like all the way through, and probably done something in special warfare, either Rangers or Spec
Yeah.
Ops or something, special
Wow.
forces, something like that. I think I think that would have been something I do over, because I've pretty much done everything else I would want to do.
Mine seems so silly now. I would be a chef. 100% I would be a chef.
A chef. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, that's great. Oh, you guys, this has been so wonderful. Thank you both for your time today, because I know how much is on your plate and how much work needs to get done. But thank you again. I think this was a great insight into, where design is heading, and especially in the association world, and what AI is going to do to impact that. But the whole brand system discussion, I think, is something everyone can take away from this. And of course, follow your curiosity. That will be our ending note to this podcast. So thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening in. Join us for episode 11 next month, maybe. Who knows? But I don't know how we're going to top this one. So bye-bye.